welcome to another episode of Something Witchy, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I am Laura Cotter.
And I'm Skye Orchard.
And we're so happy to have you with us again. We are over halfway through season 1. We're on episode 15 now. Oh, and I just realized I didn't think of a question yet for this episode, and it's the first thing we do at the top of the episode. Okay.
I have one to put you on the spot.
Oh, yes, go for it. Do it.
What is your favorite Led Zeppelin song, and what is your favorite Violent Femmes song?
The one Violent Femmes song I know is Blister in the Sun.
Good job. That's my favorite too.
So I'm going to go with that one. I mean, I may know more. I may just not know that they're Violent Femme songs. Led Zeppelin. Oh, The Immigrant Song. This is my favorite Led Zeppelin song.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I will always have to choose Stairway to Heaven, but Immigrant Song and Black Dog are also great as well.
I do know more of Led Zeppelin songs. Again, I just don't always know what they're called. I do know them, though. Oh, I guess this is the one thing I was thinking of. So I was trying to think of, now, granted, I'm old now. But in my teens, I was trying to think of what I would travel to another city for at midnight for a chance to like meet the band or meet the people. And I do remember going to, this is so old, there used to be Walden bookstores in the malls. Way back in, yeah. And I remember it was like a midnight release of one of the Harry Potters. I think it was like the 5th one. And I did go to the mall for that at midnight. That was the only time I went to like a release party type thing.
Oh man, I did all of the Harry Potter releases 5 on. And then I have pictures of this, unfortunately, that I need to delete off Facebook. My friend and I went to the midnight release of Breaking Dawn as well.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm going to go find those pictures and download them off your Facebook, and I'm going to keep them before you can delete them.
There's a photo of me in vampire teeth and I think a Team Edward sticker.
Yes. How do you feel about the resurgence of Twilight things? Like, there's been a new love for the Twilight movies, which I am uncomfortable with.
I love Twilight in a not love it as quality sort of thing.
Okay.
But I do frequently get on the side of Twilight TikTok for whatever reason. I love the memes of this is the blink of the killer Bella that are great there. And I did read the most recent, so terrible from Edward's point of view, Midnight Sun.
I read that in like 2007.
Midnight Sun just barely came out.
No, there was a leaked copy of it.
Really?
I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody before, and I'm going to tell it to this podcast of hopefully like 3 listeners. I was very heavily involved in like the Twilight side of Twitter in the mid 2000s.
Just Twitter, not Tumblr?
Just Twitter. Never got too big. Tumblr was more a K-pop era. But yeah, I remember there was like passing around in the networks. There was a leaked copy of Midnight Sun, and I read it. And that was what like killed my love of Twilight. Because I remember, oh no, this is bad. It was a combination of that and the end of the last book. That also killed my love of Twilight.
Well, yeah, that series did not end well at all.
We built up 4 books to a fight scene that did not happen.
Yeah.
I wanted somebody to die.
I know. Like, realistically, at least one person needs to die.
Yeah.
And it was just happy ever after. Excuse me, you just had a vampire war. Get it together.
In the middle of Washington.
And the werewolves.
The imprinting thing, that was weird.
Yeah, that didn't need to happen.
The accelerated pregnancy, yeah, it was all... The way they explained it was like, oh, Jacob was never actually into you, Bella. He was into the egg that would become...
Did they actually say that in the book? I feel like
it was very much implied.
Okay. I was like, do they say that literally? Because I missed a huge portion.
Had Jacob met Bella's grandmother when she was pregnant with her mom, would he have been attracted to her grandmother? They would have had to wait
to the
like
egg of an egg of an egg.
4 generations to get to what he was actually waiting for.
Does Stephanie Meyer still live in Utah? Can we track her down?
I don't know.
Did she ever live in Utah? I don't know. Anyways, midnight releases. I went to Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, this is a podcast for Sabrina, not Twilight. Same demographic, though. Same demographic. Let's be real.
No witches in Sabrina. No witches in Sabrina. Oh my god. No witches in Twilight, to our knowledge.
It probably would have been better.
I don't know. Maybe there'll be some vampires and werewolves. I keep waiting in this Sabrina-ness.
I think you will not be disappointed.
Yes. Well, listeners, welcome to Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Let's do the thing that we said we were going to do. This episode is titled Hilda and Zelda, The Teenage Years. So our TV guide description is to chaperone Sabrina while she meets this band, parentheses, special guest Violent Femmes, Hilda and Zelda pose as teens and go with her. Our Hulu description is Aunts Hilda and Zelda experience growing pains when they turn into teenagers for the night.
I like Hulu more.
I tend to like Hulu a little bit better. I feel like sometimes TV Guide focuses too heavily on the special guests and kind of like twists itself to mention them.
I would question how much Zelda and Hilda actually went through growing pains, however, in this episode.
It aired January 31st, 1997. Directed by Peter Baldwin, who is back after directing Magic Joel and Trial by Fury. Nell Scoville is the writer for this one as well. We have a list of guest stars, which is different from last week where we didn't really have any. We have Judith Jones as Zellery. She was on episodes of Growing Pains, Matlock, Step by Step, and Murder, She Wrote.
Ooh.
She has no credits, however, after 2014, so I don't believe she's still acting. Then we have Alexandra. I'm gonna guess Jones as well, but it's spelled differently. It's Jones with an H. Johnes. Or is it Johns? Jonas? Jones.
Jones with an H and an E.
No, Jones has an E in it.
You're right. I was thinking of John.
It's either Johns with an E or Jones with an H.
Alexandra, we're sorry.
Or Jonas. Maybe it's like Scandinavian. I'm just completely off. Anyway, she plays Hillary. She has a total of 4 acting credits, which include Buffy, but she's mostly been a producer for documentaries, including Freakonomics and Mea Culpa Maxima, Silence in the House of God, which is the documentary about the Catholic priest sex scandals. Curtis Anderson is back as Gordy. Then we have Gordon Gano, Guy Hoffman, and Brian Ritchie as the Violent Femmes. Gordon Gano is the guitar and lead vocals. Guy Hoffman was the drummer from 1993 to 2002, and Brian Ritchie is bass and backing vocals. A little bit about the Violent Femmes. So the Violent Femmes were a band from 1981 to 2009. Then they went on hiatus, came back in 2013, and have been together since then. Most known for Blister in the Sun, which is the song I know, and songs Skye likes. Do you know other songs by them, Skye? Or was it just Blister in the Sun that you liked best?
The others I'd have to hear to recognize.
They're classified as an underground folk punk or alt rock in the 80s. They are very influential for folk rock, indie rock, grunge, pop punk, and emo bands that came after them. We also have Bubba Smith as the security guard. Bubba Smith, I didn't know this. He had kind of a wild career. So he started off in football. He was a defensive end / defensive tackle for the Baltimore Colts from 67 to 71, Oakland Raiders from 73 to 74, and the Houston Oilers from 75 to 76. Then he moved to acting, where he started in like the police. He was like in all the Police Academy films. He did an episode of Family Matters, Coach, Married with Children. So he's had an interesting career. Last, we have Richard Tanner as the door guy in things like Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Prom movie that came out, the 1991 Addams Family movie, as well as Pretty Little Liars and NYPD Blue. Good guest cast this week. What are your overall thoughts on this episode, Skye?
It was a fun little time. I got some earworms in my head with not just the Violent Femmes. Honestly, I have more Led Zeppelin stuck in my head now. Sorry. I thought the ants would get more hijinksy, like stuck in their teenage bodies, maybe something like that. I need to go in with blank expectations. But I still had fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's one of the episodes that I always remember pretty fondly. I will say, I feel like and I did check, it is the same stylist and makeup artist who have been on previous episodes, but I feel like they like ratcheted up the styling on this to like a 10 to really be like, oh, these are teenagers and teenagers are different. Like Libby's eye makeup. I was, let's see, 97. So I was 11. So I was just like, I wasn't really wearing makeup yet, but I was starting to. And I remember like I had like a glittery silver eyeshadow. I don't remember like bright blue eyeshadow being that in still at this time. And Libby had really blue eyeshadow. Sabrina even had a little bit of blue eyeshadow. Hilda's eyeshadow was very extreme for a woman who was working at home all day. The styling was just not my favorite in this episode. The one outfit I liked was Hilda's cat pajamas at the end.
I liked Harvey's outfit.
I didn't pay as much attention to him.
Not the jeans, but I'd definitely wear that like coat, sweater, gloves, scarf combo.
I did like the coats and the stuff, but like just the regular outfits, I was like, I don't know. Something about the styling in this was off to me, but I felt like it was a fun time. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I'll still think fondly on it after this. Okay, let's get into our cold open. So Salem is sitting on the hamper in the hallway when a very inflated looking Hilda comes out asking if the sweater she is wearing makes her look fat. She doesn't understand it. Zelda's clothes usually fit her fine. Just then, Zelda comes upstairs and announces she has caught Hilda. Hilda asks her what's with the sweater, and Zelda proudly says she put a spell on her clothes so that Hilda would stop taking them without asking. A booby trap, which is kind of a funny joke. I kind of like that. Hilda takes off the sweater while Salem points out that it makes her legs look really thin.
This Salem puppet has been through the ringer and looks real ratty.
The Salem puppet's really rough this episode. I was listening to something the other day. I think so on Pod Meets World, they just recently recapped the crossover episodes, which we will get to at the beginning of season 2. But they were talking about the Salem puppet on their show. And they were like, I think it didn't look as bad back then because our TVs weren't as high definition. So I think it was more believable back in the 90s that like, oh yeah, it's a puppet, but like it looks okay. And I think now that we just have these really high quality televisions, we're like, oh no, this thing is kind of terrifying.
Makes sense.
But also, like, can you imagine seeing it in real life and having to act for that thing in real life?
Hamper Salem, nightmare fuel. The one on Sabrina's bed where he has like the little tufty ears and doesn't look as scraggly. I actually thought he looked pretty cute as a ratty puppet.
I thought he also looked a little rough, but
Wow.
not as rough, yeah. Hilda takes off the sweater, but she's still inflated. Zelda put a time release on the spell, so she'll be like that for an hour. They go off arguing while Sabrina pokes her head out of her room to see what's going on. She asks Salem what they were arguing about, but he wasn't listening. Sabrina notices the sweater and starts to put it on as Salem warns her that she might want to ask Zelda first, which means Salem was listening. Like, he's just lying to cause chaos at this point.
I mean, it's Salem.
But it's too late. Sabrina inflates and cries out. Hilda and Zelda come running. Zelda got Sabrina too. Sabrina asks why she can't live in a normal house where a sweater is just a sweater. Hilda tries to comfort her, but they struggle to hug each other.
The most awkward grapple hug ever.
Also, this sweater isn't even that nice. That sweater looks itchy. It looks like it would get blue fuzz all over anything you wore underneath it. It looked like it would just get blue fuzz on everything in general. Like, it's not even a very nice, cute sweater.
Yeah, imagine that dryer lint trap after drying it.
The dryer lint monster comes out all blue.
Yeah, I forgot we had a dryer monster already.
It's like Cookie Monster.
Also, if we're going to give Salem the action of reading a book on the hamper and not just hanging out on the hamper, I would like to know what book that is.
We get into the outfit intro, and this time Sabrina is in a 1950s poodle skirt, and she says, Grease is a word, not the word.
A bit of a burn on Grease right there.
Sabrina is in the cafeteria with Harvey, telling him that she'd love to meet the Violent Femmes. They'll be signing CDs in Boston tonight at midnight. Sabrina will have to ask her aunts. Harvey told his parents that it was an astrology field trip. Sabrina asks if he means astronomy. Hey, this means his parents are paying him less attention than he thought. And there is a laugh track, but that is just the saddest thing. Poor Harvey. His parents don't care about him. Also, his earring was very distracting through that scene. I don't know if his hair was styled differently and it was like more obvious, but I just kept staring at his earring the whole time, which is probably why I didn't notice what he was wearing. Libby overhears their plans and sits down at their table asking to come along so she can meet Gordon Gano. She even says please. Harvey and Sabrina exchange a look, and then Sabrina says that she can come. Libby celebrates, but now Gordy overhears and asks if he can come too. Libby tells him he can't invite himself along, and that's rude. But it's Harvey's car, so he gets to decide who comes, and Gordy is welcome. Everyone is cool with this, and Libby calls shotgun. Zelda is listing off reasons why she's worried about this. Boston, midnight, rock bands. Sabrina assures her and Hilda that it's totally safe. Hilda asks the name of the band again, and Sabrina reluctantly says, the Violent Femmes? But it's really ironic because there's no femmes in the band, let alone violent ones.
But also, the Violent Femmes were popular in the 80s. How have Hilda and Zelda not heard of them at all?
I don't know if my parents would know who the Violent Femmes are. What, you want me to text my parents and ask them if they know who the Violent Femmes are?
Yes.
Okay.
If you played Blister in the Sun for Pam, she would be like, oh yeah.
You know the band. Violent. Also, when I was younger, I thought it was Violet, not Violent.
It's valid. And a lot of like their East Coast accents, I don't even know if they're doing an East Coast accent in the show. It did sound like Violet to me a lot today.
I think I found out they were violent because of this episode.
Oh dear.
Oh, also, like, Hilda and Zelda are very, tapped out of pop culture, I would say. Like, they haven't had a child in their household until, 4 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom does not know who the Violent Femmes are. We'll see if my dad responds. My mom's a no. Zelda offers for her and Hilda to go along as adult supervision, but Sabrina doesn't like this idea. Don't they trust her? They do trust her, but there's a lot of other people out there that they don't, not to mention peer pressure. So they trust her, but they don't trust her. They tell Sabrina that she can't go without adult supervision, so she declares that she can't go and says they ruin everything and storms off. The aunts try to think of a way to compromise, and Hilda seems to get an idea. Sabrina is pacing in her room complaining to Salem when her aunts knock on her door. Someone is there to see her. She opens it to see teenage girls with the voices of her aunts, and it takes her a second to understand that it is her aunts. Her aunts will go with her to the Violent Femmes to supervise, but her friends will never know. Sabrina points out that they don't sound like teenagers, so Zelda saps herself and now her voice has changed. Hilda does the same but goes in the wrong direction first, lowering her voice before fixing it. Maybe this could work. Far out. Swell. But Sabrina teaches them to say cool instead. Don't love Teen Zelda's hairstyling. I feel like it doesn't do her face shape a lot of favors. But Teen Hilda, like, she studied Hilda's, like, body language and movements, and she does a great job acting like Hilda. Like, I believed that was a young Hilda. Harvey is about to come pick up the now 3 teenagers while Zelda is making snacks, and Hilda is jumping down the stairs. Sabrina looks at their outfits and decides to give them makeovers, including a crop top for Zelda, who objects to looking like a hussy. However, her outfit looks like something that absolutely would make a comeback today. Like those itchy chokers included. I wore those chokers. I thought they were cute. They were so uncomfortable, and you cannot pay me to wear one now.
It's almost an outfit you'd see someone like wearing to an Olivia Rodrigo concert today.
Absolutely. A car horn honks, and it's Harvey. He didn't even come up to the door. Come on, Harvey. Get it together. Sabrina reminds them that they are her extremely shy cousins, then realizes she needs to give them new names because nobody would name their children Hilda and Zelda, and they don't even acknowledge that. She just completely insulted them, and she gives them the names Hillary and Zellery.
People are definitely naming their children Zellery.
Yes. I don't know if I will commit to Hillary and Zellery throughout the rest of my recap. I think we're just going to do Hilda and Zelda. Driving to the signing, Zellery, as I say, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to do it for right now. Driving to the signing, Zellery complains that the car is very uncomfortable, and Hillary asks to turn the music down, both sounding much older than teenagers. Zellery Zelda also yells at Harvey when he takes his hand off the wheel to adjust the volume. Gordy bonds with her over this. Meanwhile, Libby is repeating Gordon Gano over and over to herself to remind herself why she's in that clown car. The girls are all standing in line while Hilda complains about how cold it is and how long the boys are taking to park the car. Sabrina chastises her and Libby pulls out a book to read, The Magic Within. She's going to cast a spell on Gordon Gano, but when asked if it's witchcraft, she calls witchcraft twaddle, which does not sound like a word any teenager in 1997 would use. But okay. It's a self-help book that will help her summon her feminine powers. Gordon Gano won't be able to resist her.
Only cost $12.95. Those were the days.
How much does a paperback book cost now?
At least $16, I feel like.
I have been using my Libby app like crazy and I've not been buying books.
I mean, in this economy, it makes sense.
She needs to start conserving her energy, so she puts on sunglasses. I put conserving, but I swear she said concerting her energy in the show, and that does not make sense. I don't think that's a word. I changed it to conserving. The boys finally show up, and Sabrina and Harvey start snuggling. Hilda and Zelda talk about how cute that is, so Sabrina pushes Harvey away, saying she's too warm. Zelda, however, is cold, perhaps because she's barely dressed. Gordy gallantly offers her his scarf, and Zelda accepts. Sabrina pulls her off to the side to talk. Gordy offering Zelda his scarf means he likes her, and Zelda accepting means she likes him too.
This is the first time, like, we've done an extreme jump. This is the first time Harvey and Sabrina have been so PDA ever.
Have they even been on a date?
Not really. There was the Nando. There was the Mando weirdness.
What did you just call it?
Nando.
Nando?
I was going to say non-date, but then it became a Nando because I remembered Mando, and it was a whole thing there. But we haven't even DTR'd the relationship or anything.
No, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Like, they haven't gotten an official date, really. They've kind of talked around liking each other, sort of, but not even explicitly.
Like, the last time they interacted, she was insulting his monkey puppet.
No, but they made up, and she talked for the monkey puppet with his eyes falling out.
That still does not justify this extreme jump.
Huh, yeah. Well, they're snuggling. They're friends with snuggle benefits. The line is inching along while Zelda finishes a sentence about why she thinks Alan Greenspan should step down. Should we do a brief history lesson about Alan Greenspan and who he is?
Let's do it.
It's very short. It's 2 sentences. So Alan Greenspan was the chairman of the Federal Reserve from 1987 to 2006, which is a long time. He was appointed by Reagan, served through Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush. And many argue that his policies are what led to the dot-com bubble in 2000 and the subprime mortgage crisis in 2006. So this is even before the .com bubble burst. So maybe Zelda was onto something here. Sabrina asks if they can talk about anything else. Zelda offers snacks, carrot sticks, or a hard-boiled egg, which are terrible snacks for teenagers in a line in the cold.
Also, at least shell the eggs first, Zellery. At gas stations, you get your eggs de-shelled.
Can you tell that they're still shelled?
Oh yeah.
In the bag? Oh, you
They
can?
don't
Okay.
jiggle at all. Those are shelled eggs.
Hilda wants to sit. Zelda is still cold and wants to go back to the car. Gordy offers to take her, and Harvey tosses over the keys. And then he drops the keys, and him and Zelda bend down to pick them up. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be like a little cute, like, and it's not. And they just pick up the keys and walk away. I don't understand what the point of him dropping the keys was, but that was a thing that happened. They take off while Hilda goes to the front of the line to see what's taking so long. Harvey is just happy he and Sabrina are alone now, except for the little match girl as the camera pans over to Libby still wearing her sunglasses.
Well, this was an interesting choice to call Libby. Have you read The Little Match Girl?
I know what it is, and I didn't think she was blind. Like, I thought that was supposed to be the joke.
You would assume so. I need to reread it, apparently. Hans Christian Andersen tale. But it's a story about a dying child's dreams and hopes as she slowly lights matches one by one and then dies. So, okay, Libby, if you don't get your way with the Violent Femmes, are you dead now?
They should have called her, like, Ray Charles or something. Like, there were better options.
Also, The Little Match Girl has been adapted into an animated show, a live action, and VR films, as well as television musicals and operas. So this has to go on our watch list, I guess, because I'm extremely curious about how many forms of media this depressing story has been turned into.
It's a 6-minute short film on YouTube. Do you think should we just take a break right now and watch it?
Yeah, let's
Do
do
you
it.
think they changed the ending?
I don't know.
Oh, here's a review. I'm gonna read you this review. I wanted a break from studying and I thought this movie might cheer me up. I couldn't have been more wrong. Oh. Okay, apparently we watch this if we want to cry.
Oh, I'm strong and I won't cry, but maybe we'll wait for you.
Maybe we wait on this. Okay, so they didn't change the ending. Maybe Disney should remake this one.
You know, I have several VR headsets. We can also watch it in a virtual world as well.
I don't know if I want to watch it like and experience it for myself. I think I'm okay being separated a little bit. Yeah.
You're right next to the little girl, or you are the little girl.
Yikes.
Anyways, Libby is apparently the little match girl.
She has neither matches, nor is she a little girl, and she's supposedly blind looking, but okay, little match girl.
Not dying to our knowledge.
Zelda / Zellery and Gordy are sitting in the car. Zelda thanks him and assures him that she'll lock the doors when he heads back, but he's not leaving. Which was so creepy. He wants to know everything about her, starting with her name. It's very poetic. Zelda is confused. It rhymes with celery. Gordy laughs. Zellery is delightful. Hillary makes her way to a security guard at the front of the line. She asks if she and her friends can come in, say hello, and then go home to bed. She even offers him a $20 bill. The security guard declines. She has 2 choices, continue waiting or go home. She starts to talk back, and he tells her that she can continue pushing him and sees what happens. So really, she has 3 choices. Man can't count. She continues arguing. She wants to see his badge number. He tells her again to get back in line, Missy. Who is he calling Missy? Zelda comes back from the car and interrupts Sabrina and Harvey snuggling, telling her that they need to talk. They go off to the side. There's a lot of like going off the side of the line, like going in and out of the line this whole episode.
Not awkward at all to your other group members.
But so teenagery. 100%. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've been in a very similar situation to this. They go off to the side where Zelda tells Sabrina that Gordy asked her to go steady.
Steady is not a thing in the 90s by now, correct? That's just Zelda being old schooly.
Maybe it's an East Coast thing. It wasn't. I don't think it was back here. Again, I was 11 and not dating at the time.
What?
Zelda is thinking about how to say no. She doesn't want to hurt him. Sabrina warned her about the scarf, but Zelda wouldn't listen. Zelda asks if Sabrina can talk to him for her, but Zelda got herself into this mess. She needs to get herself out. How else is she going to learn? Sabrina pushes her back to go confront Gordy, and Sabrina returns to Harvey. But then we see Hillary running down the street with a security guard chasing her. She calls for Sabrina to help her as Sabrina and Harvey stare on in horror. Sabrina catches up with the security guard as he shuts Hilda in his car. Hilda stole his badge and he wants it back. Sabrina offers to talk to her and straighten things out. She gets in the car and uses some very parental talking points to get Hilda to give the badge back. Hilda resists, but eventually they get out of the car and Hilda gives it back. She tries to run off. Sabrina stops her and forces her to apologize like she means it. They head back to the line. Sabrina and Harvey start snuggling again. Zelda and Hilda talk to each other about how terrible their hormones are. They forgot how rough this was. But the group has reached the front of the line. But the store is now closed. This is where I love what's about to happen with Harvey so much. This is like the best Harvey I've ever seen. Harvey takes the promoter off to the side. He can't do this. Talk about violent femmes. He points out the 4 girls he's with. They will be 4 extremely violent femmes, and he's the one that has to drive them back to Westbridge along with one lovesick dude. The promoter admits that he's been there. Hartford, Led Zeppelin, 1973. He tells Harvey to take the group inside, and Harvey thanks him profusely.
A little about Led Zeppelin for us here. Their 1973 tour would have been their 9th North American tour. It was called the Welcome Back Tour. Pretty good set list. They had Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven. It was the first time No Quarter was played live because it had just come out on their most recent album, House of Holies, I believe it was. But closer to home here, they also came to Salt Lake City on this tour. May 26th, 1973.
Wow. Did they go to Hartford, Connecticut in 1973?
You know, I didn't see Hartford specifically on the list.
Like I was lying.
It was in 2 segments, and so I was skimming, and then I saw Salt Lake and got more excited about that. Not gonna lie.
The group is in the music store, meeting the Violent Femmes. The band is less than thrilled, but signs their CDs anyway. They thank the kids for coming, and Libby stands in front of Gordon Gano. She finally takes off her sunglasses and asks Gordon to look at her, then stares at him, slightly shaking her head like a crazy person, and asks him, stuffing or potatoes? What is your answer, stuffing or potatoes?
If it's the good stuffing, stuffing. If not, as an Idahoan, I must say potatoes.
Mine's potatoes all day. Sabrina and her aunts wonder if they should help her out, which I don't know why. Libby's done nothing nice this entire time, but sure, they're going to help Libby out and zap her with an infatuation spell. Sparks shoot from Libby's eyes, and Gordon is shocked. She's fantastic. He comes out from around the table and asks if he can play a song for her. He asks the band to grab instruments from around the store and join him in playing a song for Libby. They start playing Please Do Not Go. Everyone starts dancing, including the aunts, much to Sabrina's embarrassment. Gordy even seems disturbed by Zelda's dancing. They cut to his face, and I can't tell if he's lovesick or if he's like, oh no. It's a weird expression to make.
Which the aunts are dancing pretty similar to everyone else in that room.
It's not anything crazy. Like, they're not disco or anything. It's just normal dancing. The other band members, Brian and Guy, tell Gordon that they need to go, but he can't believe it. He just met Libby. He invites her, a 16-year-old girl, back to the hotel suite with them, and she says yes. Gordon Gano is 33 years old at the time of this airing. This could not play in this day and age, and it should not have played then. I understand it's all very, very innocent, but boy, is that not weird.
Yeah, that got bad real quick.
Yeah. He gives her the name of the hotel and says she can bring any friends she wants, which, by the way, the Copley Plaza is a real hotel in Boston, and the current rate is $254 a night. It is a 4-diamond hotel.
Wait, what's the difference between diamond and stars?
I don't know. The hotel website just said they're 4 diamonds, so it's maybe like whatever their chain is, but how they say it.
Can we just have one standard measurement system?
No, because you can't copyright one standard measurement system. We're going to start our own hotel, and it's going to be cats. This is a 4-cat hotel. Sabrina's so excited. They're going to hang with the band, but not so fast. Libby is fine with Sabrina and the boys coming, but that doesn't include the Olsen twins. I did not include an introduction of, or an explanation of who the Olsen twins are. You don't know who the Olsen twins are, get off of our podcast. It's not for you.
But keep your like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe. Sabrina says she can't ditch them, but all they did was whine, complain, and talk about the Federal Reserve Board. They're an embarrassment. Libby asks if she's coming or not. Sabrina can't go without them. They're not just relatives, they're her friends. And Harvey won't go without Sabrina, and Gordy won't go without Harvey, which is weirdly loyal for a friendship we have not seen a ton of between Gordy and Harvey. But okay. Thank you, Gordy. Libby is determined to just go on her own, but at least Hilda points out that it's not safe for her to go alone. Someone has to go with her. Sabrina points out that it can't be Harvey, he's their ride. And so Zelda decides the best course of action is to pull Gardy to the side, flirt with him, ask him for a favor, and send him to go with Libby to adult, very grown men's hotel room. Because Gordy screams protection and safety.
I mean, at least it's a body with her.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how this would look in this day and age. Like this part of this episode would not air.
Yeah, you can't even write this anymore.
No. Absolutely not. It shouldn't have been back then either, especially knowing what usually happens back at hotel rooms of rock bands.
Rock bands, film producers, like it's yeah.
Any man in a position of power and authority. Still smitten, Gordy says anything. Sabrina and her aunts get home with Sabrina heading to bed. She didn't even want to snuggle with Harvey on the car ride home. The aunts feel terrible. They ruined everything, which they didn't. But okay. They start brainstorming how to make it up to her. But first, they need to get out of these bodies. They zap into their normal selves, then run off screaming to change their clothes, despite the fact that they could have just zapped themselves new clothes.
Also, their outfits really weren't that bad. Get with the times, you two.
No, they were fine. Also, I'm pretty sure Zelda wears things that look very crop top-ish in the future. She's definitely not a long shirt kind of girl. Sabrina is in her nightgown and brushing her hair when her aunts come into her bedroom. And like I said, this is where I love Hilda's cat pajamas. They look so cozy.
And I think one of the cats was fishing in a fishbowl about to eat some pet fish.
Like, I see those and I'm like, I want to wear those on a winter night. Those are nice.
Maybe they still make them.
I hope they do. I'm going to search for some cat pajamas this winter. They apologize for embarrassing her, and they feel that they owe her some fun, so they zap her a vacuum. She gets to fly. Old school witches use brooms. They were very impressed with how Sabrina behaved. She was very responsible and didn't buckle to peer pressure. Plus, she called them her friends. They all hug.
Was the only peer pressure, though, in this episode, I guess, maybe going to the hotel? There wasn't much peer pressure given all their anxieties.
That was the only peer pressure. And apparently they didn't even have an issue with her going to the hotel. They would have been fine with that. They just were glad that she wasn't bitchy and leaving them behind.
They were great chaperones.
They were fantastic chaperones. Sabrina gets on to the running vacuum. Hilda zaps open the window and Sabrina starts flying, going out over the city, still in her nightgown.
So they verify first that she's in low shag setting, which I assume is the vacuum equivalent of first gear.
I just got a new vacuum. And it does this thing where, like, if your setting is too high for your carpet, it, like, flashes a red light to you. And so I looked it up, and it's because, like, it raises, like, the roller brush, or it lowers the roller brush. And so if it's too high, it's, like, not efficient and it's not effective. And so you do it on a low shag or a bare floor setting if you're, like, on tile, which I'm assuming we're going to pretend like air is like a tile floor then. You don't really need the roller running. So I think it's just more about efficiency and, like, not wearing your motor down.
I know physics isn't your subject, but comparing air to a tile is...
I'm just saying, there's not, like, fibers. It's not like grass.
Okay.
It's low shag because there's nothing underneath it. There's not a shaggy carpet underneath it. We see a montage of Sabrina flying while music plays, and I did have Google tell me what the song was, and it's something called Get a Reaction, and I think it's just like movie music, because it says written by Warner Chappell Productions, which is just a company that sells music, so it's not a song.
I feel like they could have tried to at least find a Violent Femmes song that maybe fits the mood.
Absolutely. This is one of those times where I'm like, this is why I think we should get the DVDs, because I'm wondering if because I know, like, pre-streaming, there were different song rights. So, like, I know Scrubs, for instance, all the music's different because of the post-streaming era. And so I wonder if there was a different song that was supposed to be playing that we don't get to hear because it's streaming.
I didn't think about song rights post-streaming.
Maybe I'll break down and finally buy the DVDs.
It's for the betterment of ourselves in this podcast, Laura.
Exactly. Sabrina decides to fly past the Copley Plaza where the Violent Femmes are staying. Libby sits behind Gordon as he watches Ren and Stimpy. Did you ever watch Ren and Stimpy as a kid?
Snippets when at my grandparents then had access to Cartoon Network. Wasn't really my jam, though.
I didn't have cable, and it also would not have been my chosen cartoon. She thought they were going to party, not watch stupid cartoons. Gordy sits on the couch in some Violent Femmes gear with Brian and Guy, and Libby is shushed. Libby asks if Gordon wants to play more songs for her, but he declines. She tries looking into his eyes while shaking her head again, and he tells her that maybe she should have her eyes checked. Libby wants to go home, but Gordy refuses. This is his favorite part of the cartoon. Brian and Guy call him the coolest. Libby walks away to look out the window and sees Sabrina flying past on her vacuum. Maybe she does need to get her eyes checked.
I don't know if you noticed this on the Hulu subtitles, but for Paramount Plus, as Libby walks to the windows, I wrote that poem, flashes across the stream, but no one is speaking.
Was it from the cartoon?
I don't think Ren and Stimpy are writing poems, but maybe.
Because I will say, So on the Sabrina fan wiki, like they actually know exactly which episode they're watching. They're watching Stimpy's Big Day. They're like, if we take the episode's running time into account, it's probably the part where the favorite part is the part where Ren screams, "Go on, get out of here. Who needs you?" after Stimpy leaves him for a career in Hollywood.
No.
Somebody like did their homework on this, and it's not me.
People go in depth.
So I wonder if it was like a misheard something on the cartoon. Like, and it's maybe not I wrote that poem, but maybe the AI picked up something and thought that's what it was.
I also have a confession.
Yes.
This whole time I've been confused why you've been interchanging Gordon and Gordy, thinking it was all the same person, like Gordy Gano. And then I just realized, no, I know there are two characters. I now realize why you're doing that difference there.
Do you understand now why I was upset about like Gordy being the escort to go see Gordon Gano? Does that make more sense now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, Laura's notes are very weird of how she's choosing to refer to this band dude.
I'm good friends with Gordon Gano. I call him Gordy all the time. I met him when I was 16.
Anyways.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
The last 40 minutes are making a lot more sense to me.
Do we need to do this episode over?
No.
Our end tag. Sabrina comes back home after school, and Zelda asks about her day. Harvey has a cold, and Libby won't stop talking about the Violent Femmes. So everyone is fine? Sabrina tells her she can ask about Gordy, so she does. Not for her, but for Celery. He actually talked about Celery. He said, "Tell her I want my scarf back." And Zelda continues her way through Sabrina's school life, first with Mr. Poole, and now with Gordy.
Also, Harvey has the cold, yet he was the most well-dressed for this midnight outing.
Being cold doesn't mean you get a cold.
Who knows?
That's not how germs work.
And thus concludes Season 1, Episode 15.
Join us next time for Season 1, Episode 16. Mars Attracts. What do you think that's going to be about, Skye?
Oh, knowing it's a pun on Mars Attacks, I want there to be aliens. I don't think there are going to be aliens. I think it's going to instead play off also sort of the women are from Venus, men are from whatever stupid planet they're from.
Mars.
Oh, really? For some reason, I was thinking it was Saturn. Okay.
Did you say Saturn?
I was thinking that for some reason. I had Gordy and Gordon as the same person in my head, but also not for the last 40 minutes, whatever time is. So, okay. If men are from Mars, then it's just going to be a lovey-dovey weirdness with maybe some aliens.
That's a thought. So please like, share, rate, subscribe. We didn't ask anybody to email us about anything, unless you know how to say that.
Alexandra, your last name.
Is it Jones? Is it Johns? Jonas? Whatever. You can tell us how to say that name.
Stephanie Myers, explain if it's an egg of an egg of an egg.
Stephanie Myers, just explain yourself. You can email us at somethingwitchypod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod. Until next time.
Stay meowgical.